Okay, what we've got here for you is a sort of chopped up version of a somewhat longer video we did of a trip to Idaho in August of 2012. And the objective of this clip is to show you a little bit of takeoffs and landings at two Idaho strips that are considered very benign for us flatland types. One is Sulphur Creek Ranch and the other Smiley Creek. At this point we're departing Smiley Creek. We're going to run up to Sulphur Creek Ranch for an overnight trip to stay in the cabins up there. We'll see a little bit of the scenery along the way and the takeoff and landing from Sulphur Creek Ranch. And up here, the only thing you have to remember at Smiley Creek is that you're not going to leap off the ground. Its density altitude can be quite impressive there. And then shortly you come to the Sawtooth Mountain Range, which is a little bit on the high side, and you have to take that into account too as you're on your way up, although you don't actually have to fly over the mountains. We decided we would do that because it's so scenic. We'll take a 360-degree turn around the mountains here. And again, we're at an altitude of well over 10,000 feet with a much higher density altitude. And you do not want to do this when the wind is blowing up here, because it can get pretty nasty in these higher peaks. But on a day like we had, where it was very benign, it's a beautiful trip. You can imagine what this is like up in the middle of winter with a blizzard and winds blowing 50, 60 miles an hour. But in the summertime, on an August day with little wind, it's a great scenic tour. So that we've completed our 360-degree turn, we're headed back now for Sulphur Creek Ranch, which is off in the distance there somewhat. You can see a lot of the smoke from the nearby forest fire. And as we approach Sulphur Creek, visibility gets even worse. Sulphur Creek Ranch is in this little valley as we cross this ridge, and you can just make it out off to the left side of the picture. It's sort of a clear area. You can see a little bit of the light color of the strip, the airstrip, running away from us now. So we're on an upwind, hugging the ridge line to the north side, and we'll make a swing around to the downwind here in just a moment. That's the ranch airstrip off to the left side of the picture. That is Sulphur Creek below us, winding down that little valley. And we swing onto the downwind. It's pretty tight here. You have to kind of hug the ridge line. And the master plan is to cross that little outcropping that's in the center of the picture up there, skim over that, and then make a tight turn down to final. You can really see the smoke out there. This is looking generally toward the area where the fire was. I should point out that normally this tight turn to final would not be required, but that smoke out there has obscured our normal turnaround area. There's some rocks and trees totally obscured out there that you would not want to encounter. So this time we're going to do it a little differently. And across the little ridge, skim over the top of the trees here, and lead off a whole bunch of altitude in a tight turn here so we don't load the wing up too much. And if things work out, we'll come rolling out approximately in the right position for a short final approach. Hey, how about that? It worked out. This strange waviness in the picture, by the way, is not turbulence. It's an artifact of the vibration of the propeller at certain RPMs and the shutter of the camera. This is a one-way strip. You have hills rising in the background there and trees right at the very end of the runway, so you don't want to get too carried away here on the go-around. And we have arrived at Sulphur Creek Ranch. And this is Sunday morning, so there are a few airplanes here. People come in for breakfast, particularly on the weekend, and which is served in the main lodge. Now, although this is clipped up so that you see mostly aviation type stuff, we'll give you a really quick short tour of the ranch facilities, which is pretty neat. Old kitchen, funky interior. It's just a really wonderful place to spend a weekend or a couple of days. You can eat out on the lawn when the weather's good, as it is in August. They have really nice little log cabins. And of course it has a bathroom, which we won't look in because it's being occupied at the time this was taken. And otherwise, just very comfy. Cabin in the woods with an electric blanket. It's evening now. Everyone's coming in for a snack of the front lawn. It saves on mowing. And there's always a possibility that there might be an oat or something here that would be available, but in this case probably not. I'm sorry. Yeah, nothing here for you. Natural stuff. Now for us people type people, there's no necessity to graze in the lawn. They feed you quite well here. It's hearty fare. Served family style, and you're not going to go away hungry, I can guarantee you that. But that's a quickie tour. We're not going to spend a lot of time on that. The next day we took off and headed for home. Now the airstrip length is listed at 3,100 feet, but there's actually kind of a displaced threshold, so you don't have a whole lot of room to play with, although the guys that come in the tail dragger bush-type planes are usually off in the first third. The Bonanza, however, wants to eat up a goodly portion of it, probably well over half. You do have a little downhill run that gives you some extra, and it's relatively flat down there. You can make a turn before you get to that hill and head down the creek. Incidentally, on this clearer morning you can plainly see the high ground that was totally obscured by smoke when we arrived yesterday, so that's why the short approach was the thing to do. There are no roads into Sulphur Creek Ranch. It's embedded in the Frank Church wilderness, so they won't allow any roads. There's a trail that comes up this valley swings around the hills to the right over here, heads on off, and about 6 miles down the road, down the trail, there is a roadhead where they can bring stuff in. But by and large, almost everything comes in by air. And this morning we had a combination of smoke and a few clouds overhead. There were actually a couple of sprinkles which are coming out of here. It's a pretty steady climb. You're over hills that just keep increasing in altitude just at about the same pace you do. There's a drop or two on the lens. And we're headed back down toward the Sawtooth Mountains that you saw earlier. And actually dodging a fire TFR that off to the left intruded on our direct course. So we had to take that into account. The fire that was burning, I think they called it the Halstead Fire. The last I looked, a couple of days after we came back, it was up to about 30,000 acres. And this is, by the way, the middle fork of the Salmon River that you see down here. Sulphur Creek runs into it south of the ranch. East of the ranch, I guess, actually. So, over the top, and then we head down into the valley back toward Smiley Creek and discover that the smoke has drifted in there to a considerable degree, which kind of ruined our sightseeing run down the valley here. According to the GPS, somewhere out there is an airport. And the strip finally is coming into view. You don't see it? Ha ha ha. That's because you don't know where it is. Here we come. See, I told you there was an airport out there. Again, you see the nice flat approach coming from the north. Down to the south, they're sort of hidden in the smoke, though there are hills, so you don't normally take off in this direction. This is, by the way, about a 4,000-foot strip, so you have lots and lots of room here. And it's kept up very nicely. Off to the right, you probably can see there are sprinklers along the side of the road. He sprinkles half at a time, or one side at a time. The only problem is you have to work your way through the sprinklers when they're running. This is the campground area with the tie downs immediately adjacent, which you didn't see yet. Now, I didn't take too much video here, so we're going to have a series of still pictures to kind of illustrate what we did here at Smiley Creek. Okay, so this is the flight line at Smiley Creek. Beautiful area, got wildflowers. It's all sprinkled and irrigated. Here's our campsite. Has a nice little covered picnic table where we all gathered for meals. But that's about it. We'll wrap it up here. As Wolf, the Canadian wolf, watches the mountains of Idaho depart, we wing our way south over the interior of Nevada. And another mini adventure is at an end. So bye-bye to all.